hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Vlogmas video. Today's Vlogmas video is a story time, and it is about the time that my mother ruined my wedding. My first wedding. She wasn't invited to my second wedding. Now, if you haven't seen my previous videos about my toxic relationship with my mother, I will link them down below and maybe up in the iCards if I can remember to do so. Go check those videos out before watching this one, or I mean don't, I'm sure you'll pick it up along the way. Just as to kind of how our relationship, or lack thereof, was growing up and, you know, into my adulthood. She's a very toxic person, very toxic lady. Just wanted to say that before I jump into this video and you're like, what is going on? My first wedding was in 2015. I don't know how, I'm gonna try and tell this story while maintaining some privacy for the people involved, but it's gonna be a bit difficult. I'm gonna go from the beginning of the day to the end of the day as to, like, chronologically in order the things she did to kind of try and ruin the day. I knew exactly what she was like. I've always known what she was like, so going into the day, I pretty much expected her to try and cause drama and stir the pot, because that's just what she's like. So I wasn't surprised, I wasn't shocked, I was kind of just like, yeah, that sounds about right. The first thing she did was before I even arrived, and that was question my father about you know, him walking me down the aisle. She was saying, well, what's my job then? If I'm not walking her down the aisle, what am I supposed to do? And just as a general rule, basically the mother sits in the audience with everybody else. That's just how it is. And then dad walks. Obviously every wedding's different, but this is what I had chosen to do because I have a really good relationship with my father, and I didn't have really much of a relationship with my mother at all. So it was just a little, you know, she was just kind of setting up for the day, questioning what she was going to be, like why she didn't have a bigger part in the day, which is fine, like understandable, whatever. And then she chooses the seat right behind my dad's wife. This woman has destroyed many relationships of my father's by just telling lies to my dad's partners at the time, because she just likes to make people's lives miserable. Don't know why. She gets a kick out of it. She enjoys it, thinks it's fun, don't know. She sits behind my dad's wife and starts telling the people, I won't say who they are, but the people next to her, out loud, loud enough for my dad's wife to hear in front of her, that my dad was sending her dirty photos and dirty messages, and there was like cheating, like leading on that there was cheating involved and blah, blah, blah. And basically tried to destroy another one of my dad's relationships. Keep in mind, my dad's married to this woman at this point. So she knows exactly what my mother is like. She didn't buy into it because she knows exactly what my mother's like. Everyone in the family had warned her. She knew exactly what was going on, and she basically just turned around and said, I think you should maybe move to a different seat. Just politely, like, as I would expect. I wouldn't want to be hearing that behind me either. So that was the second thing she did, was to kind of stir the pot and try and start a fight and try and break a marriage up, and just typical her things. It's a lovely day. This was all before I even arrived. So I heard about all of these things after the wedding from everybody that heard what was going on. From me arriving, walking down the aisle, getting married, going off, doing photos and all those things, it was pretty smooth from there. I don't think, other than a few snide remarks from her to other people, which was just typical of her, it was pretty smooth sailing. It wasn't until we came back into the reception area where everybody's sitting down at their tables. We had unassigned seating, just how it was. So people sat where they wanted to sit, and of course there was empty seats at her table because my ex-husband, the person I was marrying at the time, was in the army, and when we had invited a bunch of his army friends, and at the last minute they couldn't come because of work obligations. So we did have probably like 5 or 6 empty seats at one specific table, and obviously that was the table that she had sat down at, and everyone just avoided that table and like other tables across the room because everybody knows what she's like. But once these tables had filled up and there was only, you know, her and her friend, which she had like bullied me into letting, that's a whole other story, letting her bring to the wedding. It was a very small, there was only like 3 or 4 tables. It was a very small gathering. I didn't want people I didn't know. It was very intimate. I invited very few people. I think there was like 30 to 40 people there. She like bullied me into letting her bring her friend, but it is what it is. Her and her friend were sitting at the table, and then what was left was my sisters, my stepsisters. The next thing she did to try and ruin the day, speeches came up. My dad got up, he said a little something. I think the best man said something. I think maybe my maid of honor said something. I can't really exactly remember who said speeches. I hadn't planned a speech. I hadn't written a speech down. However, I did want to get up and just thank everybody for coming. So I got onto the microphone, and I'm not good in front of crowds. So even though there was only like 30 or 40 people and I knew all of them, I was still pretty nervous to get up with a microphone and talk in front of them. And I basically just said, thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you so much for those who traveled out of state to fly here. And thank you to my dad, who basically paid for the whole wedding. He paid for the venue and the catering and the alcohol and just like literally everything. He paid for everything except one thing. One thing he didn't pay for, and that was the DJ. And that's because, once again, my mother had bullied me into letting her pay for that. And I said, no, I don't want you to pay for that. No, I don't want you to pay for that, because I know exactly what she's like with money. As soon as I agreed to let her pay for it, she fell off the face of the earth and I couldn't contact her. The DJ company couldn't contact her. The deadline came for when it needed to be paid. It went past. They said, we can't hold it for you anymore. I said, okay, like, please, I'll get my dad to pay for it. And then at the last minute, she transferred the money $5 short of what it was supposed to be, which I'm assuming she did on purpose, just as like a, I don't know, a jab. I have no idea. But I almost lost the DJ that I had been wanting to use and booked in for my wedding, because she didn't want to pay, fell off the face of the earth, even though she was the one that bullied me into letting her be involved in the wedding and pay for the DJ. That's relevant to the speech story. So I'm saying thank you to everyone, thank you to Dad for paying. And my dad's in the front row mouthing something to me while I'm speaking, and I couldn't quite make out what he was saying. Like, I'm nervous and he's saying, thank your mum, don't forget to thank your mum. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what? I didn't know what he was saying until literally the second I said like thank you and handed the microphone back. It like clicked in my head what he was saying, and I looked over and was like, breaks down crying and throws a tantrum and like runs out of the room, like scream crying basically. And it was very fast from that point. I didn't have time to chase her because our photographer was only going to be there for another like 10 to 15 minutes, and we needed to try and get the cake cut and the first dance done and the dad-daughter dance done within this time frame. So I didn't have time to go chasing her. I'm trying to get all of these, like the cake cut so we can get photos of it, and the daddy-daughter dance so we can get photos, and the first dance so we can get photos. So it was a very rushed like 15, 20 minutes, and I kept having people coming up to me going, your mother's in the bathroom crying, your mother's in the bathroom crying. And I'm like, I don't have time. Like, I'm trying to get through my wedding. Please stop. Like, please just go away. So that was the next thing she did. And then there were meals at some point in the night as well. And that was another thing that happened, is her friend, they brought the meals out. It was, I think they call it like an alternate drop, where every second person gets there's 2 different meals and every person gets a different one, and you can swap and change and stuff. And her friend's meal got put in front of her, and her friend said, oh, I'm really sorry, but I don't like any of these things, or I'm allergic, or like whatever the reason was. She didn't want either of the things that were offered to her. She's like, can you make me something else? She goes, I'm really, really sorry. I feel awful. Like, she was really sweet about it. She said sorry and apologized. And my mother turned to her and said, be as difficult as you can. Like, because I hadn't mentioned her in my speech, she wanted her to like try and mess the day up even more. Keep in mind, I've never had a good relationship with my mother. It's not, I had a closer relationship with my aunties and my cousins and my grandparents than I did with my own mother. Like, she was in and out of my life. She was only around here and there. She didn't raise me. Yes, darling. Okay, I'll help you. Sorry, I just had to attend to my daughter. So where was I? I was closer to basically every other family member than I was to her. So it's not like I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. It wasn't natural instinct for me to thank her, if that makes sense. Plus it was a stressful day for me because it was my wedding. The final thing that she did just before she left was I went up to the bar. This is the first time I'd been alone all night because obviously it's your wedding day, you're thanking everybody, you've got people coming up to you congratulating you. So the first chance that she had of me being by myself, I went up to the bar. I think I only had 2 drinks on my wedding day because I was just so busy. And I went up to the bar to get a drink, and she comes up to me at the bar and she says, "I'm leaving now and I'm taking the wine with me." Because it was the venue was like bring your own. So my dad went to a bottle shop and like purchased a bulk amount of alcohol and filled the fridges with it. So he paid for it already, like all the alcohol was paid for and it was ours. So she was like, "I'm leaving now," which wasn't even the end of the night yet. Like the wedding wasn't finished. And I'm taking that, and I'm taking the wine with me. And I'm like, what? Like, of course I was like, please don't leave. You know, don't leave, don't take the wine, stay, enjoy yourself. Like, I was polite about it, I wasn't horrible. Although in hindsight, like after kind of debriefing with the family, not all together, we didn't all sit around and like talk about her, but I just had family members coming up to me the days after the wedding being like, just so you know this happened, just so you know this happened, just so you know this happened. And it was all her trying to like stir the pot and just like ruin the day basically. Those are the major things that I can remember that happened. I'm sure there were like a bunch of other little things that she did, but yeah, that was how my mother attempted to ruin my first wedding day. It didn't actually ruin it for me because number one, I was totally expecting her to do horrible things on that day anyway, because that's just the type of person she is. And number two, I was so just like stressed out about the day. Going into that wedding, I don't think my ex-husband and I were very compatible with each other. So it was a very stressful time for me in general. It was a very stressful time for me in general. I was just a stress head the whole time. So it didn't ruin it for me because I was already stressed, you know. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that story. I can't believe I've never told that story to you guys before. It's something pretty huge that has happened in my life. I just didn't really, I don't know if you guys would be interested in it, but there it is, how my mother attempted to ruin my wedding day. Thank you so much for watching another Vlogmas video. Don't forget to subscribe below if you want to follow this journey. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Bye.